Lilian Rivera was the epitome of grace and intelligence, the ideal daughter of the Rivera family in Solana. Raised in privilege, she thought she had it all when she married Benjamin Alaric, a man who seemed to be a perfect gentleman. But beneath his charming exterior lay a heartless opportunist. Lilian spent years enduring Benjamin's coldness, verbal jabs, and growing indifference. Her efforts to build a harmonious life were met with disdain and betrayal. Behind her back, Benjamin was having a flagrant affair with Veronica, a cunning socialite who fueled his ambitions to control Lilian's family fortune. One fateful evening, Lilian overheard Benjamin and Veronica discussing their cruel plans to strip her of her wealth and cast her aside. Devastated, she ran from their mansion, tears blurring her vision as she drove into the stormy night. A sudden crash marked the end of her torment, or so she thought. Lilian awoke with a start, her heart pounding as she looked around at her surroundings. She was in her childhood bedroom, her phone displaying a date years before her ill-fated marriage to Benjamin. At first, disbelief gripped her. Could this truly be a second chance? Her despair turned into determination. This time, she wouldn't fall victim to Benjamin's manipulations. Lilian vowed to reclaim her power, protect her family's legacy, and carve a new path for herself. She would not let love blind her again. Lilian began by declining Benjamin's advances. Her firm rejection startled him, but she remained unfazed. She realized, however, that avoiding him wouldn't be enough. She needed someone powerful on her side to fend off his schemes. Enter Zander Montague, a formidable businessman known for his sharp intellect and unrelenting focus. He was the youngest CEO to dominate Solana's corporate world, but behind his success was a man who distrusted emotional ties. Lilian approached Zander with a bold proposal, a contract marriage. She promised him access to high-profile connections and insider knowledge of the Rivera business empire in exchange for his protection and partnership. Zander, initially skeptical, agreed after seeing Lilian's determination and hearing her plans to counter Benjamin's moves. Their arrangement was simple: no emotional attachments, just a mutually beneficial alliance. The announcement of their engagement sent shockwaves through Solana's elite circles. Benjamin, seeing his hold over Lilian slipping, was livid. Veronica, too, seethed with envy, unable to comprehend how Lilian had won the interest of a man as powerful as Zander. As Lilian moved into Zander's penthouse, she found herself navigating a life she never expected. The two had very different personalities. Zander was pragmatic and brutally honest, while Lilian was learning to assert herself with newfound confidence. Their days were filled with strategy meetings and social engagements, each interaction furthering their shared goal of dismantling Benjamin's influence. Zander admired Lilian's growing resilience and cleverness, though he rarely showed it. However, the proximity also brought challenges. Lilian couldn't deny Zander's magnetic presence, while Zander found himself increasingly drawn to her strength and vulnerability. Meanwhile, Benjamin, unwilling to let go, began plotting ways to sabotage Lilian and Zander's union. But for the first time in years, Lilian felt hopeful. With Zander by her side, she was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Lilian and Zander's partnership began to gain traction as they faced Solana's high society. Their engagement became the talk of the town, with rumors flying about their sudden relationship. For Lilian, every public appearance was a chess move, and she played the part of Zander's fiancée with poise. Their chemistry, however, was undeniable. At an exclusive gala hosted by Solana's business elite, Zander guided Lilian through the crowd, introducing her to influential figures. Dressed in a stunning emerald gown that accentuated her elegance, Lilian quickly became the center of attention, overshadowing Veronica, who arrived with Benjamin on her arm. When Lilian and Benjamin locked eyes, the air grew tense. Benjamin's smug smirk faltered as he realized that Lilian was no longer the timid woman he had controlled. She returned his gaze with a confidence that unnerved him. As the night progressed, Lilian and Zander's teamwork shone. They anticipated questions, countered insinuations, and presented a united front. Despite their carefully planned strategy, an unexpected moment occurred. During a waltz, Zander whispered, "You're stronger than you think," Lilian? For the first time, she saw genuine warmth in his usually cold eyes, and her heart skipped a beat. Back at Zander's penthouse, the pair celebrated their successful evening with a quiet toast. Lilian confessed her fear of facing Benjamin earlier in the night. Zander reassured her, saying, "The only power he has is what you give him. Don't forget that." The next day, Zander introduced Lilian to his inner circle of allies, powerful individuals who would help dismantle Benjamin's influence. Among them was Ethan Hale, a brilliant yet enigmatic attorney with a knack for uncovering corporate secrets. Ethan provided a critical lead. Benjamin had been siphoning money from Rivera Corp to fund his lavish lifestyle and Veronica's business ventures. Lilian was furious, but kept her composure. "He won't get away with this," she said with a steely resolve. Zander admired her newfound tenacity, but warned her to stay cautious. Meanwhile, Benjamin began to suspect that Lilian and Zander's relationship was more than a mere business arrangement. Veronica, driven by jealousy, urged Benjamin to accelerate their plans to discredit Lilian and gain full control of the Rivera family fortune. Veronica orchestrated a scandal to tarnish Lilian's image. She spread rumors that Lilian was using Zander for his wealth and influence, painting her as a manipulative gold digger. The media picked up the story, and Lilian found herself at the center of a tabloid frenzy. Zander, however, had anticipated this move. He held a press conference, where he defended Lilian with an eloquence that left reporters stunned. "Lilian is not only my fiancée, but also a woman of remarkable intelligence and resilience," he declared. "She has faced adversity with grace, and I am proud to stand by her side." His public support turned the tide, silencing critics and boosting Lilian's confidence. She thanked Zander privately, but he brushed it off, saying, "We're partners. This is what we do." Despite his dismissive tone, Lilian sensed his growing protectiveness. That night, Lilian received an anonymous message warning her about an impending betrayal from someone close to her. Shaken but determined, she vowed to uncover the truth. Lilian and Zander intensified their efforts to gather evidence against Benjamin. With Ethan's help, they uncovered more incriminating details about his financial misdeeds. However, the anonymous warning continued to haunt Lilian. The breakthrough came when Lilian discovered that her cousin, Serena, had been feeding information to Benjamin in exchange for financial favors. Feeling betrayed, Lilian confronted Serena at a family gathering. "You were supposed to protect the family, not sell us out," Lilian exclaimed, her voice trembling with anger. Serena tried to justify her actions, claiming she needed the money to cover her debts. Zander intervened, warning Serena to stay out of Lilian's way or face legal consequences. The confrontation left Lilian emotionally drained, but more determined than ever to protect her family's legacy. Meanwhile, Benjamin began to realize that his schemes were unraveling. He underestimated Lilian's resilience and Zander's strategic brilliance, but he wasn't ready to give up. As he plotted his next move, Lilian prepared herself for the battles yet to come. Lilian and Zander began their next phase of strategy, exposing Benjamin's embezzlement and Veronica's complicity. They worked closely with Ethan, who unearthed evidence of shell companies tied to Benjamin. The process was grueling, with late nights spent in Zander's study poring over documents. Despite the intensity of their work, Lilian and Zander's dynamic shifted. Their sharp exchanges softened, and they began to share glimpses of their pasts. Lilian spoke of her childhood dreams of running Rivera Corp with integrity, while Zander revealed his struggles with trust after years of being surrounded by deception. At a charity auction, Lilian made her first solo appearance as Zander's fiancée. It was a test of her composure and confidence, as the event was rife with Solana's elite, including Benjamin and Veronica. Lilian impressed everyone with her poise, outbidding Veronica on an expensive art piece just to rattle her. But as the night progressed, Lilian overheard Benjamin conspiring with a foreign investor to stage a hostile takeover of Rivera Corporation. Shaken but determined, she immediately informed Zander, who reassured her with a firm grip on her shoulder. "We'll stop them. Together." Zander devised a plan to trap Benjamin and expose his schemes publicly. With Ethan's legal expertise, They organized a confidential meeting with Rivera Corp's board members to present their findings. Lilian, nervous but resolute, practiced her presentation for days. Meanwhile, Benjamin sensed that Lilian was no longer the submissive woman he once knew. He tried to intimidate her during a chance encounter, whispering, "You're playing a dangerous game, Lilian." Instead of backing down, she met his gaze and replied, "So are you, Benjamin, and you're losing." The board meeting was intense. Lilian revealed Benjamin's financial misconduct, supported by undeniable evidence. Several board members, previously loyal to Benjamin, began to question his leadership. However, Veronica arrived unannounced, claiming the evidence was fabricated and accusing Lilian of sabotaging the family. Zander stepped in, delivering a compelling rebuttal that silenced Veronica. The board agreed to conduct an independent investigation, buying Lilian and Zander more time to strengthen their case. As the pressure mounted, Lilian found herself emotionally drained. One evening, after a particularly tense strategy session, she broke down in tears. Zander, uncharacteristically gentle, offered her comfort. "You don't have to carry this weight alone," he said, handing her a glass of water. Lilian looked at him, surprised by his kindness. "I never thought I'd find someone who truly believed in me," she admitted softly. Their moment was interrupted by a phone call from Ethan, who had discovered that Benjamin was planning to sell a significant portion of Rivera Corp's shares to foreign investors. The move would destabilize the company and leave Lilian with nothing. Lilian and Zander sprang into action, attending an emergency meeting with Rivera Corp's financial advisors. Zander's quick thinking and Lilian's growing confidence allowed them to devise a counter-strategy, preventing the sale. Despite their victory, Lilian couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal from her own family. Zander noticed her unease and reassured her, saying, "Sometimes, family isn't about blood. It's about who stands with you when it matters." With their partnership stronger than ever, Lilian and Zander attended a high-profile gala hosted by one of Solana's most powerful businessmen. The event was a prime opportunity to solidify alliances and gather information on Benjamin's next moves. Lilian dazzled in a crimson gown, and Zander couldn't help but admire her transformation. Throughout the night, they worked the room with seamless coordination, earning admiration and envy from the attendees. At one point, Zander pulled Lilian aside for a quiet moment on the balcony. "You're incredible tonight," he said, his voice softer than usual. Lilian, caught off guard, felt her cheeks flush. "You're not so bad yourself," she replied with a playful smile. Their conversation was interrupted when Veronica appeared, drunk and furious. She accused Lilian of stealing Benjamin and ruining her life. Instead of engaging, Lilian calmly replied, "I'm reclaiming what was stolen from me. If you feel threatened, that's your problem." The confrontation left Veronica humiliated, but Benjamin, watching from a distance, vowed to retaliate. As Lilian and Zander left the gala, their bond deepened, and for the first time, they felt like more than just partners in a shared mission. The tension in Lilian and Zander's battle against Benjamin and Veronica reached a critical point. Ethan discovered a confidential file hidden in Benjamin's private office, detailing a decades-old agreement between Benjamin and an influential business tycoon. This agreement was the cornerstone of Benjamin's illegal dealings. Zander instructed Lilian to confront her family's lawyer discreetly to gather more evidence. Lilian, though apprehensive, agreed. She met the lawyer, Mr. Callahan, in a secluded cafe in a quiet district of Solana. At first, Mr. Callahan was hesitant to speak, fearing repercussions. However, Lilian's passionate plea about restoring Rivera Corp's integrity moved him. With Mr. Callahan's cooperation, Lilian uncovered a network of fraudulent transactions and siphoned funds. But the deeper she dug, the more she realized how entrenched Benjamin's corruption was. She shared her findings with Zander, who reassured her with a steady hand on her shoulder. "We'll dismantle his empire brick by brick," Zander said. "You're stronger than you think, Lilian." The weight of their shared mission started to take a toll, but it also brought them closer. Zander began to see Lilian not as a pawn in his plan, but as a formidable ally with unwavering determination. While Lilian and Zander prepared their next move, Veronica struck back. She leaked false information to the media, portraying Lilian as a greedy woman trying to oust her brother from the family company. The headlines painted Lilian in a terrible light, and the public backlash was swift and harsh. Lilian was devastated, but Zander refused to let her wallow. He called an emergency press conference, where Lilian bravely addressed the allegations. Her composed and heartfelt speech, emphasizing her love for Rivera Corp and her vision for its future, won over the audience. Meanwhile, Zander worked behind the scenes to identify the source of the leak. He discovered that Veronica had bribed a journalist to publish the false story. With this evidence, Zander and Lilian threatened legal action, forcing the journalist to issue a public apology and retract the story. Despite their victory, the ordeal left Lilian shaken. Zander, noticing her distress, surprised her with a quiet dinner at his penthouse. Over a simple meal, they shared stories of their childhoods, and for the first time, Zander opened up about his own struggles. "You're not alone in this fight, Lilian," he said. "I'll stand by you until the end." The growing closeness between Lilian and Zander didn't go unnoticed. Veronica, determined to drive a wedge between them, orchestrated a scheme to sow mistrust. She planted false evidence suggesting that Zander was using Lilian to gain control of Rivera Corp. Lilian discovered the forged documents and confronted Zander, her voice trembling with anger. "Was this your plan all along? To manipulate me for your gain?" Zander was caught off guard but remained calm. He denied the accusations and presented his own findings, proving the documents were fabricated. "I would never betray you, Lilian," he said, his voice firm. "We're in this together." Though reassured, Lilian couldn't shake her lingering doubts. The incident tested their partnership, but it also made them realize how much they relied on each other. Amidst the turmoil, Zander received news that Benjamin was planning to secure a powerful investor to solidify his position. This investor, Mr. Alaric, was known for his ruthless tactics. Zander and Lilian knew they had to act quickly to prevent Benjamin from gaining more leverage. Lilian and Zander devised a risky plan to intercept Benjamin's meeting with Mr. Alaric. Lilian, posing as a representative of Rivera Corp, arranged a separate meeting with Mr. Alaric to present an alternative proposal. Dressed in a sleek black suit, Lilian exuded confidence as she entered the luxurious hotel where the meeting was held. Zander watched from a distance, his admiration for her growing. "She's fearless," he thought. During the meeting, Lilian showcased her vision for Rivera Corp, emphasizing its potential for growth and innovation. Her passion and sincerity impressed Mr. Alaric, who agreed to reconsider his deal with Benjamin. Meanwhile, Zander confronted Benjamin at the same hotel, warning him to back off. Their heated exchange ended with Zander declaring, "You've underestimated Lilian, and that will be your downfall." As Lilian and Zander left the hotel, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their bond had been tested but emerged stronger. Lilian looked at Zander and said, "For the first time, I feel like I'm truly fighting for something worth saving." Zander smiled, his respect for her deepening. "You're not just saving Rivera Corp, Lilian. You're reclaiming your life." Lilian and Zander took their fight to a new level, targeting Benjamin's closest allies. They began by exposing his key supporter, an influential board member named Gerald Whitman. Zander, using his connections, unearthed evidence of Gerald's involvement in embezzlement, schemes linked to Rivera Corp. Lilian arranged a surprise board meeting and presented the evidence against Gerald in front of the entire board. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room, with several members questioning their loyalty to Benjamin. Cornered, Gerald tried to deny the allegations, but the proof was irrefutable. Under immense pressure, he resigned, further weakening Benjamin's hold on the company. Meanwhile, Benjamin, furious at the loss of his ally, doubled down on his efforts to discredit Lilian. He leaked manipulated videos and documents suggesting Lilian's incompetence. Zander worked tirelessly to counter the attacks, using his media team to release statements defending Lilian's capabilities. One night, Lilian, overwhelmed by the constant battles, broke down in Zander's office. Zander comforted her, saying, "You've faced so much already, and you're still standing. That's what makes you unstoppable." His words reignited her determination, strengthening their bond even further. Veronica, seeing Benjamin's power diminish, grew desperate. She reached out to Zander's rival, Donovan Hale, hoping to create an alliance that would bring both Zander and Lilian down. Donovan, a cunning and ruthless businessman, agreed to help in exchange for a share in Rivera Corp's profits. To counter this new threat, Zander and Lilian decided to strike at Veronica's weakest point, her own insecurities. They discovered that Veronica had falsified her academic credentials to secure her position in the company. Zander anonymously leaked this information to the press, sparking a scandal that tarnished Veronica's reputation. The public backlash forced Veronica to retreat from the spotlight, but she vowed revenge. "This isn't over," she hissed during a confrontation with Lilian. "You'll regret ever crossing me." Despite Veronica's threats, Lilian felt a sense of accomplishment. With Zander by her side, she realized she was no longer the timid woman she once was. Amid the chaos, Lilian and Zander found themselves spending more time together. One evening, after a long day of strategizing, Zander invited Lilian to his private estate for dinner. The serene atmosphere provided a rare moment of peace, and for the first time, they allowed themselves to relax. As they sat by the fireplace, sipping wine, Zander opened up about his past. He revealed how his own family had been torn apart by greed and betrayal, fueling his desire to help Lilian reclaim her rightful place. "You remind me of the strength my mother once had," Zander admitted. "She fought for what was right, just like you." Lilian was touched by his honesty. She shared her fears and dreams, confessing that she had once doubted her ability to stand against Benjamin. "You've already proven them wrong," Zander said, his voice steady, "and I'll be here to make sure they never tear you down again." Their conversation deepened their connection, and though neither of them acknowledged it aloud, they felt an undeniable shift in their relationship. Armed with new evidence against Benjamin, Lilian and Zander launched a bold plan to expose his corruption publicly. They hosted a gala under the guise of celebrating Rivera Corp's achievements. The event was attended by influential business figures, journalists, and government officials, all unaware of the storm about to unfold. During the gala, Lilian took the stage to deliver a speech. She spoke passionately about Rivera Corp's legacy and its need for ethical leadership. As her speech ended, Zander played a video showcasing Benjamin's fraudulent activities, complete with supporting documents and witness testimonies. The room erupted in shock and outrage. Benjamin, who was in attendance, tried to defend himself, but the evidence was overwhelming. Government officials announced an immediate investigation into his actions, effectively stripping him of his power. Veronica, witnessing Benjamin's downfall, attempted to distance herself from him. However, Zander had anticipated this and presented evidence of her involvement in the schemes. She was escorted out of the gala in disgrace, her ambitions shattered. As the night ended, Lilian and Zander stood on the balcony, overlooking the city. Lilian felt a surge of relief and gratitude. "We did it," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Zander smiled, his eyes filled with admiration. "No, Lilian, you did it. I was just lucky enough to be by your side." In that moment, Lilian realized that Zander was no longer just her ally. He had become her anchor, someone she could trust and depend on. The war was far from over, but together, they were unstoppable. With Benjamin's empire crumbling, Lilian and Zander knew they were close to victory, but the remnants of his network still posed a threat. Among them was Donovan Hale, who had secretly allied with Veronica. Donovan, a cold and calculating businessman, began targeting Zander's business ventures, hoping to weaken his influence. To counter this, Zander proposed a merger with a rival company, Evergreen Enterprises, led by an ethical CEO named Clara Mason. The merger would strengthen Zander's holdings and protect him from Donovan's attacks. However, convincing Clara was no easy task, as she had once been betrayed by a business partner and was wary of alliances. Lilian took it upon herself to meet Clara, appealing to her as a woman who had also faced betrayal. She shared her personal journey, her fight against Benjamin, and her belief in Zander's vision. "You're not just fighting for yourself, Lilian. Clara said after their conversation. "You're fighting for every woman who's ever been silenced. I'll stand with you." The merger was finalized, and Zander's position in the business world became stronger than ever. Donovan, seeing his efforts fail, grew increasingly desperate, while Veronica, now isolated, began plotting one final move to regain her power. Veronica's desperation reached its peak when she learned that Donovan was considering abandoning their alliance. She decided to act before he could. Using her charm, she convinced Donovan to attend a private meeting, where she secretly recorded him admitting to illegal dealings with Benjamin. Veronica leaked the recording to the media, sparking a scandal that brought Donovan under investigation. While this temporarily removed him as a threat, Veronica's actions also made her vulnerable. She underestimated the consequences of crossing Donovan, who vowed revenge. Meanwhile, Lilian and Zander used the chaos to their advantage. They launched a campaign to restore Rivera Corp's reputation, focusing on transparency and ethical practices. Lilian's speeches and interviews captured public support, portraying her as a fearless leader determined to bring justice to a corrupt industry. However, the pressure began to take its toll on Lilian. She struggled with sleepless nights and mounting anxiety, fearing that one misstep could undo everything. Zander noticed her exhaustion and insisted she take a break. "You're not alone in this fight, Lilian," he told her. "You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders." Zander's unwavering support reminded Lilian why she had come this far. She allowed herself a moment of vulnerability, leaning on him for strength. As Veronica's influence waned, she made a bold move to regain control. She approached Lilian directly, offering a truce. Veronica proposed that they join forces to completely dismantle Benjamin's remaining network, claiming she wanted to redeem herself. Lilian, wary of Veronica's motives, sought Zander's advice. "People like Veronica don't change," he warned. "But if we play this right, we can use her desperation to our advantage." Reluctantly, Lilian agreed to the alliance, setting strict conditions to ensure Veronica couldn't betray her again. Together, they exposed Benjamin's last remaining allies, effectively cutting off his access to resources. However, the alliance was short-lived. Veronica, unable to let go of her greed, attempted to manipulate the situation to her benefit. She leaked confidential information about Rivera Corp, hoping to tarnish Lilian's image. Lilian and Zander acted swiftly, presenting evidence that discredited Veronica's claims. The backlash was severe, with Veronica facing legal consequences for her actions. This time, there was no redemption for her. "You chose this path, Veronica," Lilian told her during their final confrontation. "And now, you'll face the consequences." With Veronica neutralized and Benjamin facing trial, the storm began to subside. Rivera Corp, under Lilian's leadership, was on its way to recovery. Employees who had once doubted her now admired her resilience and vision. One evening, Zander surprised Lilian with a celebration at his estate. Close friends and allies gathered to toast their success, but for Lilian, the victory felt bittersweet. "I never imagined I'd have to fight so hard for what was rightfully mine," she confessed to Zander. "But you did," Zander replied, "and in doing so, you've inspired so many people. That's something Benjamin could never take away from you." As the night wore on, Lilian found herself reflecting on her journey. She had started as a woman crushed by betrayal, unsure of her own strength. Now, she stood as a leader who had overcome insurmountable odds. Zander, sensing her introspection, approached her with a gentle smile. "What's next for Lilian Rivera?" he asked. Lilian smiled back, her eyes filled with determination. "A future I'll write on my own terms." Their shared laughter echoed in the night, a reminder that while the battle had been hard-fought, it had also brought them closer together. Though the road ahead was still uncertain, they knew they could face it together. The trial against Benjamin finally began, and the courtroom was packed with reporters, business elites, and curious onlookers. Benjamin's lawyers attempted to paint him as a misunderstood businessman, but the mountain of evidence against him, painstakingly gathered by Lilian and Zander, made his defense crumble. Benjamin, now cornered, lashed out in desperation. He accused Lilian of orchestrating a personal vendetta and claimed she had manipulated the legal system to destroy him. Lilian, calm and composed, testified in court. Her testimony was a masterclass in poise, as she recounted the years of deceit and emotional abuse she endured. "You didn't just betray me as a wife, Benjamin," she stated firmly. "You betrayed the trust of everyone who believed in you, your employees, your business partners, and even yourself." The court was moved by her words, and public opinion swung entirely in her favor. As Benjamin was escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs, his once loyal followers distanced themselves from him, leaving him utterly alone. Meanwhile, Zander ensured that the media focused on the positive changes Lilian had brought to Rivera Corp, cementing her reputation as a visionary leader and a survivor. Even after her public downfall, Veronica refused to accept defeat. She managed to evade her legal troubles temporarily and went into hiding. From the shadows, she orchestrated one final scheme to destroy Lilian. Veronica hired hackers to infiltrate Rivera Corp's systems, intending to leak sensitive information that could tarnish Lilian's reputation. However, Zander anticipated this move and had already fortified the company's cybersecurity. The hackers were caught, and Veronica's involvement was exposed. Lilian and Zander decided to confront Veronica personally. They found her holed up in a dilapidated estate, a shadow of her former self. "Why couldn't you let it go, Veronica?" Lilian asked, her voice a mixture of pity and frustration. "You took everything from me," Veronica spat. "My life, my reputation. I have nothing left." "You did that to yourself," Zander replied coldly. "You let your greed and envy consume you." Realizing she had no allies left, Veronica broke down. For the first time, Lilian saw her as a tragic figure, someone who had been consumed by her own ambitions. Despite everything, Lilian chose not to press additional charges against her, deciding to end the cycle of vengeance. Chapter 27. A New Beginning. With Benjamin and Veronica out of the picture, Lilian and Zander turned their focus to rebuilding Rivera Corp and planning their future together. They implemented new policies to promote transparency and employee welfare, ensuring the company would never again fall prey to corruption. Lilian also started a foundation to support women who had faced domestic and emotional abuse. The foundation quickly gained traction, and Lilian became a symbol of resilience and empowerment. As for their personal lives, Zander surprised Lilian with a heartfelt proposal. On a quiet evening, under the stars, he knelt before her with a simple yet elegant ring. "Lilian, you've shown me what true strength looks like. You've made me a better man. Will you let me stand by your side, not as your savior, but as your partner?" Tears filled Lilian's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Zander. You've been my rock, my compass. I can't imagine a future without you." Their engagement was celebrated with close friends and family, marking a joyous new chapter in their lives. Months later, Lilian stood before a packed auditorium, delivering a keynote speech at a business ethics conference. Her journey from a betrayed wife to a powerful leader had captivated the nation, and her story was an inspiration to many. "As women, we are often underestimated," she said, "but we have the strength to rise, to rebuild, and to redefine our own narratives. I stand here today not as a victim of betrayal, but as a testament to the power of resilience and hope." The audience erupted in applause, and Zander, watching from the front row, beamed with pride. After the conference, Lilian and Zander took a walk through the city, reflecting on how far they had come. "It's surreal, isn't it?" Lilian said. "To think that everything we've endured has led us here." "It's not just about where we are," Zander replied. "It's about who we've become." Their journey had been filled with trials, heartbreak, and redemption. Together, they had built a future rooted in trust, love, and mutual respect. As they walked hand in hand, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The day of Lilian and Zander's wedding finally arrived, symbolizing not just the union of two souls, but the triumph of love and resilience over betrayal and adversity. The venue, a stunning seaside estate in a serene coastal town, was transformed into a breathtaking haven. White roses, Lilian's favorite, adorned the space, and the sound of waves gently crashing against the shore created a magical atmosphere. Lilian walked down the aisle with her head held high, radiating grace and confidence. Her gown, a masterpiece of lace and satin, shimmered in the sunlight, and her smile spoke of the strength she had gained through her trials. At the altar, Zander waited, his gaze never leaving her. Dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, he looked every bit the man who had stood by her side, through thick and thin. As Lilian reached Zander, the officiant began the ceremony. Instead of traditional vows, the couple had chosen to write their own. "Lilian," Zander began, his voice filled with emotion, "you've taught me the meaning of unconditional love and unwavering strength. You've faced every storm with courage, and you've shown me what it truly means to believe in someone. Today, I promise to cherish you, to protect you, and to always stand by your side." Tears glistened in Lilian's eyes as she responded, "Zander, you came into my life when I was at my lowest and showed me that I was capable of standing tall again. You've been my partner, my confidant, and my greatest supporter. Today, I vow to love you with all my heart, to trust you, and to build a future filled with hope and joy together." As they exchanged rings, the crowd erupted into applause, and the couple sealed their vows with a tender kiss. The ceremony was followed by a lively reception, where family and friends celebrated their love. Laughter, music, and heartfelt toasts filled the evening. Months after their wedding, Lilian and Zander returned to their daily lives, but their journey was far from ordinary. Together, they continued to build their legacy, both in business and in their personal lives. At Rivera Corp, Lilian introduced new initiatives to empower employees and create a healthier work environment. Her focus on innovation and inclusivity earned the company international acclaim. Zander, as her steadfast partner, played a pivotal role in managing the business's growth and expansion. Lilian's Foundation for Women, named Second Chances, grew rapidly. The foundation provided counseling, legal aid, and vocational training to women who had faced abuse or betrayal, giving them the tools to rebuild their lives. On their first wedding anniversary, Lilian and Zander hosted a gala to celebrate the success of the foundation. The event was attended by influential figures from across the country, all eager to support the couple's cause. During her speech at the gala, Lilian reflected on their journey. "Life isn't about avoiding pain or heartbreak," she said. "It's about finding the strength to rise again, to forgive, and to build something beautiful from the ashes. Zander and I are living proof that even the darkest moments can lead to the brightest futures." The audience gave her a standing ovation, and Zander, watching her with pride, knew he had found his soulmate. Years later, Lilian and Zander sat in their garden, watching their two young children play. Their laughter filled the air, a reminder of how far they had come. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Lilian asked, leaning against Zander. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I wouldn't change a single thing. Every step we took, every challenge we faced, it all led us here." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over their home, Lilian and Zander shared a quiet moment of gratitude. They had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and seemingly insurmountable odds, but together, they had created a life filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. And as they watched their children chase fireflies in the twilight, they knew that their story, a story of resilience, redemption, and unwavering love, would inspire generations to come. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.